Hello everybody, and welcome back to the King Fox channel. My name is Matt Conacher, and I'm building a Kit Fox Model 7 STI, which should be right here. In this video, we're going to be installing the stringers on the fuselage. So they're quite long, as you can see, probably over 10 feet because I can't stand them up here in the garage. So I got one down each side, pilot and co-pilot side, and I do believe there's one underneath on the bottom, which will be a lot of fun right now because I have it up on the gear. So we'll see what's entailed in this as we get into the instructions. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh yeah, if you haven't already, hit that like button and the subscribe button. Tell your friends, and the little bell for notifications so you don't miss out on future videos like this when they come out. So thanks for watching, and let's get into the video. Alright, cut and file as required the aluminum stringer tubes to fit the fuselage sides as shown. So we can see there's one on each side there. So I'm going to find the point A, point B, and point C. And then the note over here, it says permanently install the front end of stringer only after door frame installation. Rivet and bond flush with the door frame flange interface. So I think what I'll do is probably get it cut to length, basically prepped up, ready to go, and then I will save that portion of the installation until I get the door frame on. So again, I'll have another completion date that's left open, but hopefully with the majority of these pieces, looks like they get wired to riveted and bonded with some micro balloons and possibly some epoxy. So let's get going. So points A here, point B is here, easily identifiable. I have another couple more attachment points back here. Then in the book it shows, looks like it's terminating on a relatively vertical member, but in the back there you can see I have a triangle with a relatively vertical member. Alright, so as you guys can see, the stringer material there are on top of the workbench. There's 3 of them, and they're pretty long. I think they're about 10 feet long or so. And you'll notice that one of them is shorter than the other one, and that's because I measured very carefully and I cut it. And that's the piece that I cut off there. My camera's kind of doing its own thing. Alright, so what happened, cut and file as required the aluminum stringer tubes to fit the fuselage sides. As shown. So this one in particular I had laid out for the co-pilot side of the aircraft. And again, I measured it from point A to point C, which I'll show you here in a second. Alright, point A goes down here to point C, and when you get back here to C, you've got a round tube meeting another round tube. So basically you have to cope out the end of your stringer. And of course, since I measured from here to there, and once I started coping and then I coped on the end of A, I came up short. So I don't believe this is a structural member of the aircraft. I believe it's there for a bearing surface when I put fabric over it. So another phone call that I have to make to Brandon. I did call him today. It's the day after Thanksgiving, to see if he could give me some inputs on whether or not I could... Hello, camera. I'm up here. My face is up here. Nope. Up here. There we go. So I gave him a call to see if I could, in fact, swap out parts B with part C and part B from the previous episode where I was putting the seat belts in. Basically, I got two bolts. One of them's a little bit longer, and bolt C goes up top, and that one's a little bit longer. And I would like it a lot better if I could put bolt B in there, because bolt B is shorter, and I can put the nut, or the washer and the nut on without hitting any other members. So I just called, left a message. I'll probably get a call on Monday, I would imagine, after the long Thanksgiving Day weekend. So in the meantime, we'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and clamp this stringer to the airplane so you can see what I've got laid out. I do have it all marked. Got it marked and drilled right now. Where it touches the points on the fuselage. Probably can't see that. Maybe there you can. Got them drilled out. So I'll clamp it up to the airplane, and then we'll see what my tolerances are, how far off I am, and maybe we'll scuff this up and put some epoxy, some 9460 on there, high sol. So let's get into that. All right, here's the stringer clamped to the fuselage. And what you do is you measure between this point back here, this point up here, and then, like I said, my measurement was tight up here where I'm short. But once I started coping this back end out, basically that started to allow the tube to extend past this framing member, making that end shorter up front. So I did think I did a pretty good job on the coping there. However, while I was doing that great job on the coping, I shorted myself up top. So got these drilled out, just getting ready to scuff those up, prep them, and then I'll throw the high sol on there. That one you can't see because the clamp is on there. This one. So up here, I think I'm probably just gonna high sol it in place, clamp it, and see if somebody else has a better idea. I was thinking about, since I do have a little bit of tube left over here, I thought about possibly cutting a section off of here, making some notches, maybe 4 notches, sliding this tube inside the other, high soling them together. Maybe that would give it a little bit of rigidity and allow me to get some space to stick it to the airplane. So let's see what I do. I might be saved by the bell. I just looked at step 158. Must be performed only after the door frame has been fitted to the fuselage. It is shown here for reference only, and that is right here. That's the area where my piece is short. I'll take you over here. So right here, where this guy's short, that's not supposed to go in there until I'm putting the door frame on. So maybe what I'm going to do is leave that as is. I'll just let it stick out where it sticks out naturally. I'll epoxy all these and rivet them in place and leave this one till the end. So maybe I didn't screw up. I need to clamp the tubes in place, drill them, which I've already done within the saddles, top and bottom, with a number 30 bit and deburr. Prep the surfaces for bonding, so I'm going to hit those with a little bit of Scotch-Brite. Apply a small quantity of structural adhesive mixed with micro balloons to the surfaces, then pull up a rivet in each hole. We'll be scuffing it up with some Scotch-Brite, so I'll do that here in a minute. What rivets do we need? We need some 1/8 by 1/8 SS stainless steel. Those are 95-002. 95-002. It says I need 8 of those. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Alright, 8 of those. Then we're going to need 2 of the 1/8 by 1/8 FH, I assume that's a full head, maybe, AL, which are aluminums, but that is letter C. So 2 of those. Those are going to be required when I do put the door frame in. Just like, so this gets done once I'm doing the door frames. Right now I'm going to leave the front of the stringer detached. So letter C, I'm going to put an asterisk down there so I remember that later on why I left that out. Right here. And C note. Even though there's already a note written over there, sometimes we don't see the forest for the trees. Okay, so I have the rivets that I'm actually going to use. Put those back in the case to keep the shop organized. Otherwise it quickly gets unorganized. So I've got my aluminum tube, I got my rivets, I got my high sol, I just need to mix them up. Let's do that. So this is one of my favorite parts, mixing up some high sol. And you might be asking, why are you mixing up high sol when you got to do some prep work yet? Because the high sol has to sit and cure, not cure, I think it has to sit for 30 minutes before it's ready to be used. So let's take a look at some instructions. Mix ratio 1:1. Where's the waiting part? Well, I read something. Let me get to that. I'll find the answer to that in just a minute. While I'm looking for that, I'm going to mix some up. So we're going to turn the unit on. It's in grams already. 3 grams, 5 grams. Tare. My scale has a little delay to it. It says to mix up a small amount, and I always mix up too much. So you can see how little that is. That's all I'm going to mix up. That is well, that's one part, as we know. That's the resin adhesive. So I've got 3 grams there. Call that good. Set the stick over here. And if I can use the same stick, on the last one I'll just use that one to stir it. I don't know why I always try to save something that's very cheap, but I don't mind breaking something that's very expensive. We'll get to that later also. So 3 grams of the white stuff, the resin, 3 grams of the hardener. Now this stuff tends to be a little bit more runny. Not too runny, as you can see how its consistency, it kind of hangs there for a little bit. So hopefully we got 3 and 3. We'll see if we got 6. Probably have too much of that. Of course, there's 7. Okay, that's really close. I'm going to say I'm okay, because I'm not going to get a 1/2 gram. Guess I could take no, I'm not taking any out. Just going to close these up. And I've probably showed this a bunch of times, but you can see the hardener and the adhesive. So you just mix them until they turn gray. It doesn't take very long. Quick mix, be sure to get the stuff off the bottom. Clean the stick. If you haven't used this stuff, you were just skipping ahead watching the video, this stuff is called structural adhesive for a reason. It is hard. In fact, if you glue 2 popsicle sticks together, you'll break popsicle sticks before you break the epoxy. So hopefully you can see the consistency. It doesn't take too long to mix up. That's pretty much the consistency. Maybe we can turn you around and see under the light so you can see it's just a light gray. So we'll let that sit. Alright, I found it in the manual towards the front under Builder's Tips. I have a tab here for structural adhesive. And your kit's provided with EA 9460. And here it says mix the ratio 1:1. Be sure to use the proper ratio. It does say as the strength of a joint decreases rapidly with even small variations. Be sure to mix the materials carefully, scraping the sides and bottom of the mixing cup to include all the product in the mixing action. Continue mixing for at least 15 seconds after the material has a uniform color with no white or black streaks. Alright, at 77 degrees the epoxy will reach a handling strength in 6 to 8 hours and a full cure at this temperature. Where steel and aluminum parts are bonded together, the adhesive should be mixed with a small quantity of microballoons, so I'm going to have to get some microballoons. Maybe I made that part up. Oh, I'm thinking of the epoxy to cover the darn wooden spars with, or the wooden ribs that I put in. I think that's a 30-minute wait. Anyway, okay, so I told you wrong. So no wait required according to the book for the EA 9460. Now I just have to find my microballoons, which are in a box somewhere behind me. Let me see if I can find those. And there they are, old micro balloons. Let's see what they look like. It looks like dust. So what's a good amount to mix in there? Let's figure that out. Back to builder's tips. The adhesive should be mixed with a small quantity of microballoons. The micro serves to keep the adhesive from completely squeezing out from between the parts, ensuring that the dissimilar metals never come in physical contact. Where a large structural fillet is required, the adhesive should be mixed with cotton flocks because it adds both strength to the fillet and sufficient body to the adhesive to keep it from running. Alright, well, I'm not doing a large fillet, so I'm going to mix a small quantity of microballoons. What would a small quantity of microballoons look like? Well, I would say I want it to be evenly dispersed inside the... Well, that stuff is like flour. So you can see it's very dust-like. In fact, I'm just going to pour some in there because it's very hard to even pinch some between my fingers. I'm going to say that's a small quantity. And I'm going to stir it in. It also says not to breathe it, which I will do my best. There's a bit down in the bottom of the cup, so I'm just going to stir that in. Get it all mixed in evenly into the epoxy. Still some more down there. It looks like it's thoroughly incorporated, except for down in the bottom of the cup. You probably can't see it, but there's still some micro balloons down there. They're little tiny balloons. They're like those 99 red balloons, I'm sure. Alright, that's mixed in. I'm going to let that sit again. I'm going to cover my micro balloons so they don't blow all over since I do have a fan going. And I'm going to rough up the fuselage. I'm going to start with this forward one up here. I'm just going to give it a little touches with the emery cloth here. Not emery cloth, Scotch-Brite. And the book says this gives it some tooth in quotations so that the glue has something to stick to. And then when I'm done with this, I'll probably wipe it with some MEK or some denatured alcohol to get any contaminants off there, which could be from my fingers, oil, from my skin. It doesn't take too much to get it scuffed up. You can see the paint scuffs almost immediately once you do this. And I'm going to scuff this back piece back here too, where it's going to get safety tied with wire. Alright, those are all scuffed. Let's get some alcohol. I got a little denatured alcohol and rag. I'll wipe those off. Squeaky clean. I think I'm also going to scuff the aluminum, and you're not supposed to use sandpaper on aluminum. So this is the aft portion, so I'm going to scuff that a little bit, even though it's quite scuffed from where I was filing on it. This is the front here, so I'm not going to scuff that up because I'm not gluing it yet. So I've scuffed all these other points up. I'm going to grab that denatured alcohol again, clean those up. I'm going to set this back in the fuselage and put a little bit of epoxy on my saddles. So let's see if we can get you close up. All right. Popsicle stick seems to fit in there nicely as far as the radius goes. I'm just going to make sure I've got everything covered, all the surface area on the face, and wipe out any excess. And I'm going to do the same on all of these. Now if I cover this up, it might last while I mess around with the stringer on the other side, depending on how fast I move. Because if I remember, this Stringer here did take me quite a bit of filing to get it where it sat in there nicely, but we'll give her a go. That way I don't waste all this structural adhesive. Not that I've mixed up that much, 3 grams of each, roughly, 3.5. On the back of the fuselage I can see where I was bumping into it with the aluminum stringer, so I'm just going to put some epoxy in that area, but I think I'm going to have to come back here and dab a little bit more around it as I put it in place. We'll set that stuff aside and we'll grab our stringer. Okay, the coped end there is that's going to go aft. I'll take that one to the back of the plane. And then, of course, the camera's in the way, so I'll have to pause you and move you again. Start down here at the back. So that's my cope. And I will stick that in there. And then I'm going to stick this very first saddle in. Actually, it goes in up top first, so I'm going to clamp this one up here first, because it is uptight. And then I'll clamp this second one. Keep my holes lined up for my rivets. Clamp the third one right here. Hard to see through me, but here's the post. It's going to get clamped. I'm just going to pull it in there nice and tight. Maybe I'll do it. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to go get my rivets and put a rivet in. I think we'll start with this one right here. Okay, that one goes in, and then there's one that goes in on the bottom, so I'm going to make sure that I can fit them both in. Okay, they both go in the hole. I should probably put the rivets in the other holes just to make sure everything lines up before I rivet something in place, because the inevitable would tell me that then the rest of them would not fit. So let's move to the next one. 2, 4, 6. 6 more rivets. 2, 4, 6. So I'm going to take this clamp off and see if looks like my holes line up. That rivet goes in. That one also goes in. Next. Here. Take that off. See if I can put a rivet in. 1 and 2. Okay. Next. If I could get this camera to just follow me as I moved along, that'd be great. Of course, that one doesn't really want to go in. There we go, got it in there. See if I can put the bottom one in. Okay. All right, 2, 4, 6, 8 rivets inside their holes. And I'll start with this one up front while I'm up here. Now, when I was drilling these, you have a tendency to want to drill in exactly straight, but you can't quite get your riveting tool in there straight. If I would have drilled it straight, I'd be hitting this member up here, so Gotta think ahead with a few other items like this. I have the wrong rivet attachment in there. So let's remedy that very quickly. Swap it out with the 1/8. I think I was doing 1/16 before that. That's too big. And that one is just right. Snug it up. Alright, put the head on there. Make sure that I'm down tight against the metal. Some light pressure. Let it go back down against the head of the rivet. And one down. I'll do the bottom. This is riveting. 2. I'll pick up these shanks as I go, since I just had to repair a car tire here in the garage. No idea where the screw might have come from. Alright, 8 rivets. Alright, for this back piece, which is kind of a sloppy mess right now, I'm supposed to use some .032 wire through the back end. I've got my micro balloons already inside the epoxy. Let me see if I can locate some of that wire. I'm going to go look in box 2, because that seems to be a great place for it. Alright, box 2 was fruitless, so I went to trusty box 5, and I found it, .032 safety wire. So now I'm going to get my cheater's pliers. I suppose any A&P will look at me and say, don't ever use those. Maybe someday I'll know why, but right now I've got my .032 safety wire and my cheater's pliers, which I got on Amazon, and they're in one of the lists of tools I have listed down below. So I'm going to run a little bit of this through this hole and out the other side. And then take it to the back of the plane. And kind of match them up. And I'm going to clip this somehow. It's the first time using these is on camera, so certainly there's a, there we go. Okay, I'm going to clip that off equal with the other piece, plus or minus 0.0623 millimeters. And I'm going to move around back and see about I suppose twist it over a little bit, maybe once or twice. Open that up. Pinch it inside the jaws, squeeze it. That's handy. Let me give it a few more twists this time. Very simple process. that in there, squeeze it shut, pull it down, and let it twist. It's going counterclockwise. Okay, squeeze, pull down on this thing. Oh. I'm going to push this into the position I want it in and give a pull. And probably don't want to pull too much or I'll break the wire. So, since it doesn't really want to stay, I'm going to clamp it in place. I don't want to tighten that up any more than that because it seems like I will probably break the wire. So I'm going to clamp this in place and let that epoxy seal or cure. I'm already tight against this piece and I think this is just going to get in my way. So I think I'm going to go with a trusty old wood clamp or maybe a quick grip between the actuator, because it's not going to take a lot of pressure, just enough to keep that centered. And maybe I'm not tight enough with my pliers and my wire, because it looks like that is loose. So we'll put this on the end. Squeeze hard, pull this thing down, locks it into place, pull on the end of that, maybe give it a little help. Okay, I'm going to call that good. Release, open. Those would be great on your fingers. And I'm going to put a little bit more epoxy around here because I've got way too much where I shouldn't have it. I think I'm going to stay off the safety wire and put a little bit on the top. It looks like I have absolutely zero on the bottom, so put some in there. Come around to the bottom and I will try to get the other side. I'm going to have to move some junk. Looks like I have plenty of goop on this side. Not much needed on the bottom there. And a little bit on the safety wire, but I guess if I have to take that off, I'll probably have to cut it because this stuff doesn't really remove. That looks not too bad. I would say each epoxy job is unique. So if you can see how it looks on this side, the safety wire actually looks like a professional did it. Thanks to those safety pliers, but the goop needs to go up in there a little bit better. I'll see if I can finesse it with my popsicle stick so it touches there we go. And then I'll probably get a few popsicle sticks and try to get this off. It doesn't really wipe off, so, and I don't want to get it on my fingers because it doesn't come off your fingers for several days either. So anyway, this one I would say is in. Well, let me go get a rag or something and try to clean that up. See if I can capture that on camera because it's so exciting. All right, I'm going to try on this side first with a little bit of paper towel where I overshot the epoxy on the stringers on the horizontal stabilizer. I'm going to have to, at some point, go back and sand all that down and try to make it smooth. And I bet that's going to be a fun time. Like I said, it's very hard. That actually looks pretty good there. Try to do something similar on top. I've got an abundance of extra. And all this extra, I'm sure, just adds weight, which I think for most people would be minuscule, but for the hardcore weight savers, probably getting a good shot of the paper towel, which if I don't have to have any extra weight, I don't want it. So I'll try to clean it up and make it look nice. Okay, that looks pretty decent on this side. And we'll see if we can get you up close, personal. As personal as possible. Here, how does that look? Not too bad. Let's move on. Thanks for coming back, and if you haven't already done so, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the little bell for future notifications so you don't miss out on my build if you're interested. And if you'd like to share it with anybody you know building an airplane, please do so. Thanks very much.